Every voice matters. Not only for self-expression, but every voice has a chance to resonate with someone out there who maybe needs to hear it. That's why diversity in content creation is so important. Not only does it benefit each and every one of us, but it benefits the industry as a whole. The greater the expression, the greater the diversity, the more the voices, the more enriched the entire community and the entire industry is. This work is tough. It's much tougher than I ever thought it would be. And it's not easy being small either. Being small creators, we deal with our own specific challenges and difficulties. But for me, games are my life, and content creation is what gives it all meaning. So, what I've endeavored to do here is to gather advice and wisdom from some of our industry leaders in the content creation world. You are about to hear from a variety of voices, most of them, if not all, you will probably recognize, who so very kindly acquiesced to join me on this venture. I want to thank them all so much for doing this for us, and I'm hoping that each and every one of you will get something out of this. If you're a new content creator, this video is for you. If you have been creating content for years and years, this video is still for you. If you have no interest in content creation at all, check this video out because it's pretty interesting. And you might just enjoy it anyway. Without further ado, in no particular order, here they are.
Hi, I'm Rodney Smith of Watch It Played, and I wanted to see if I could share a couple of helpful tips with you if you've already or you're starting to think about beginning a board game channel. First, don't feel you have to buy a bunch of fancy gear and equipment, unless you've got the money and maybe just a real passion for tech, because I think it's better to first use the equipment you already have to the best of your ability and discover if you enjoy making videos about board games, and do that before you buy a whole bunch of gear. Which brings up another key point. Figure out if making videos is something you really want to do. I think to be able to have a healthy relationship with the act of making videos, you have to have a separate, independent passion for the video creation process. This is very different from the real passion you might have for playing and talking about games, because making a video is just a totally different activity. You want to figure out quickly if you enjoy spending your weekends or more making a video, releasing it, and having it watched by maybe just 10 people. Do you love the process of making videos enough that you don't mind if hardly anyone watches for months and months and months? And it's okay if the answer is no. But sometimes you have to try to find out, and if the answer is yes, if you have a passion for media creation, okay then, you're on the right track. And to help keep you on that right track, I think it's a good idea to decide early on who and what you want to be and why, and write it down. I made a list like this back in 2011. A quick example of something I wrote. I will make videos for the individuals watching, not just to grow my channel views and subscriptions. I decided early on that I was going to relentlessly not care about the size of my audience. I wasn't going to obsess over analytics or algorithms. I was instead going to make sure that I was giving the best showcase of board games that I knew how to give, and that I was trying to pick up new skills to make the work better. So anyone who did decide to watch my work would find a host who cared about the experience that they were having as a viewer. Now, this was important to me because I realized that was the experience I appreciated having when I was watching videos by other people. If I couldn't aspire to that, then I didn't want to do it in the first place. So, know what you want and what you don't want to be your motivating factors, and be relentless about it. Don't let the audience or random chance decide that for you. Now, a final tip, and I know I'm going long, but if you set goals for yourself, set goals you have control over. If you set a goal of, I'm going to have 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month, you've just set a goal you do not fundamentally control. You can't control if you'll get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. Instead, set a goal like, I'm going to make 3 videos this month, or I'm going to learn 3 new editing skills to improve my video work. Now, these are things that you can control. These are things that will make you better at what you do, and that is empowering. Hitting goals like that will make you a better creator. Now, apologies, Lola and Sean and everyone. I know I've gone long. I love this topic. I love media creation. So thanks for inviting me to share. Happy gaming and happy creating, everyone.
Hi everyone, my name is Monique.
And I'm Naveen, and we have a channel called Before You Play here on YouTube, and we just wanted to come on here and say thank you to Lola for having us. We'd like to give a little bit of advice.
Yes, we are going to just be giving some random sort of things that we have in the back of our minds that'll hopefully help anybody who's just starting out into content creation, especially in the board game space, or even people who have been doing it for a while and just want to hear how other people kind of do things.
Yep.
The first thing that I would say is probably something that is said a lot. I mean, this is something that we were told so many times when we were first starting out, and it's do not chase numbers. Instead, what we did when we first started out is we made a list of measurable goals, basically goals that are within our control. You can't control how many people are going to subscribe to your channel, watch your videos, share, comment, etc. But you can control things that you're doing. So for us, we were really passionate about teaching games, playing them together, and demonstrating them. So we really, really enjoy a designer's games named Vital Lacerda.
Yep.
So one of our goals was to just make playthroughs of all of his games.
Right.
Another one was making a list of publishers who we really, really wanted to be able to review their games and maybe form a relationship with. And so that was something within our control, and that was how we measured success.
Yeah, another thing that we can control was how many videos we wanted to put out every single week. That's something that you have control of, and you're not really worried about those numbers like we were mentioning.
And on the topic of making those videos, the other thing that I would suggest is really learning to love the process and the machine of content creation, because it is very much so a machine. You know, once you think of a video idea that you want to do and you finish it, it's out, you're always moving on to the next thing. And what a lot of people don't see is everything that goes on behind the scenes. The editing, the setup, everything else that goes on behind the scenes is sort of something that you either have to fall in love with or at least be okay with doing over and over and over again.
Yeah, and also kind of a segue of that, a lot of the things that we like to do or the videos that we like to make are playthroughs because we get to enjoy that time together. And I think that's why we really enjoy doing that kind of content. So another piece of advice would be just do the content that you actually enjoy doing in the moment of doing the content.
Yes, that is key,
Very
actually.
big, yeah.
We're big believers in that there is an audience for everyone. It's just a matter of you finding them and them finding you and vice versa.
Last tip, practice speaking on camera for sure.
You can kind of see our progression as well if you look at earlier videos. So anyway, that is all for now. We really hope anything that we said today was helpful. And again, thank you to Lola for inviting us.
Thanks.
Okay, the number one piece of advice I always like to give anybody who's wanting to start out in the exciting world of board game media is do not break the bank starting out. If you've got one of these, and chances are you do, you have everything you need. The camera quality on modern smartphones is fantastic. It's everything you would need. So you've got a perfectly decent filming setup in your pocket right now. Audio is often a more important consideration than the quality of your video. People will tune out quicker if you sound terrible than if you look terrible. But why look terrible or sound terrible? These have really good microphones built in too, provided you're going to be holding it relatively close to your face, as I did for like the over the first half decade of my filming. I was just using an iPhone 4. But if you are going to be using this and putting it on one of those little tripods you can get on the cheap, so it's going to be way far away from you, the sound might be a bit hollow. So if there's one thing to invest in after you've got your smartphone set up, I would say one of those really cheap lavalier mics, you know, the kind that you clip onto your lapel that can just plug directly into your phone. Those will give you audio that's as good as any channel out there. And those don't have to cost very much at all. So you can get going, up and running very quickly and affordably. So definitely do not go rush right out and buy, $500 or $1,000 cameras or anything like that. You've got everything you need in your pocket. Another consideration is lighting. That would be the number 2 thing. After the phone and maybe a microphone or a mic if you need it, if you do not have a nice, bright, sunny locale like I did when I started out in Malta, you might need to invest in some simple box lights like what I've got here. Because if I turn these lights off, it's pitch black in this room. There's no light at all. But those don't have to cost very much either. But ideally, just film, close to a window on a sunny day. Again, that's what I did for, the first 2/3 of my time running, and it worked perfectly fine. So, in terms of expectations, I think the other thing to bear in mind is if you put a few videos up and you're getting 20 or 30 views or 50 or 100 or whatever, do not get discouraged. Actually, that's pretty good. Try to visualize what would it be like if I were in a room with 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 people and they were all listening to me. If you approach it from that perspective, you'll quickly understand that, oh my gosh, at no time in human history has just anybody who has, the time and the passion to put into it been able to turn the head of so many people. A 50-person view, that you consider that a success. If you were to imagine all those 50 people crammed into your living room and they're hanging on every word you've got to say. So do not, get discouraged. Do this because it's fun. Do this because you're excited about it and you want to share your passion and your ideas. Even if you're only sharing with 50 people, you should consider that a success because, of course, it's incredibly competitive right now. There are so many channels doing so many different things. I guess the last thing I'd suggest is try to come up with something, an angle that nobody else is doing. That plus, I'll be honest, focusing on the new hotness, there's no two ways about it. That's what people tune in for, is probably your best route to trying to start to build an audience. So there's a few things I like to point out to people. Okay.
Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And, well, no one ever said that turning your passion into your job was an easy task. But if you are doing it, well, I do have 3 small tips along the way, which is, starting off, you can keep your costs low. You can do a lot with a little. My first videos, for a long time, my first year doing content, was pretty much doing it from a $50 mic attached to my phone. That's it. No fancy cameras, nothing else. Filming it on my couch. And honestly, to this day, I still get people who miss the couch. I miss the couch too. It's just that I don't have space in this basement, and this is my basement, to fit 2 full sets. So, the couch is gone, but the point is you can do a lot with a little. You don't need to spend a lot of money. Start off strong, start off with what you can do, and just see what your voice is, see what you're adding, and what resonates with you in terms of the types of content you are approaching, and what people are watching you for, and all of that. Number 2 is, I'll say that along the way you're going to miss out on things. The nature of doing content means there is a shift in the way you approach games, and suddenly there's a deadline on that game you're trying to review, and suddenly that thing that you wanted to do for fun is the thing you have to do as opposed, because you've taken on obligations, and suddenly you're doing things for a publisher, for yourself, for your channel, for your audience, and it changes the way you approach the space. Find things along the way that you love instead, because there are so many things you will lose out on when you start diving into content, when diving into board games as content instead of just diving into board games for board games, but you can replace those with other elements of the hobby you love. I can tell you the amount of things that I enjoy in this hobby. Yes, I have to actually go through these 10 games this week in order to cover these reviews, but at the same time, I get to be in the board game space and talk to other content creators, and it can be incredibly satisfying when that company sits there and says, hey, we'd love for you to do a video for our crowdfunding campaign. There's so many elements of content creation that are tremendously satisfying, and you need to find those. You need to hold on to those, because there are elements of your hobby that will turn into work along the way, so you need to keep those scales balanced as you do this. And leaning into that, the third one is find your voice. Find the things that make your audience, your content, everything different. At the end of the day, there's so many people out there who are embracing content creation as another avenue to talk about and be involved in the thing they love. And it's incredibly cool to see every day. I mean, on a regular basis, I find new channels that I hadn't seen until now, and it's clear that there's always still room to grow in the space. But find the thing that works with you. Find your voice in the space, whether it's because you're going to review games a certain way, whether you're talking about topical things in the hobby. Find something that feels natural to yourself. At the end of the day, it's going to be an uphill journey. It's always going to be an uphill journey. And so you need to make sure that you love what you're doing as you go through it.
Hi Lolo and Sean, it's Amy and Maggie from Think a Thema,
Hello.
and thank you so much for having us as part of this video. We've learnt a few tips about content creation in the 3 years of making mistakes.
Lots of lessons learned.
Lots of lessons learned. And starting with the fact that when you first start out, it's really exciting to see those numbers come in. I mean, we thought maybe my mum would watch our first video, maybe we'd get 10 views, and then, when you get the first 100 views, it's really exciting, and it can be really motivating. But at some point, point it needs to transition away from being about the numbers, because in order to sustain a channel, you really need to focus on what brings you joy.
Yeah, so and the thing is, those numbers may not, for a lot, like in the majority of cases, they don't come in as fast as you assume, because you always hear about all these viral videos and this went like that, and you see the big channels. And the reality is sometimes that can take a while. And so it's very easy to get discouraged by that. And so that's where the North Star has to always be, what are the things that not just that I enjoy about the hobby and the thing that I'm sharing, but also what do I enjoy about the process of creating that content?
Yeah, the creative process, and what are you trying to contribute to the hobby as well? What do you want to bring to this space? And so we try and keep all of that in mind. And the other tip that we have is just to start putting videos out there. So if you're thinking about getting into content creation, just try making a video, because it's never going to be perfect. And trust us when we say those first videos are very unlikely to be perfect, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You can learn as you go.
That's where you learn the most. So there was no preparation we could have done to get those earlier videos to look and feel like what we ended up getting them, or what they look like now, because that's the process that you have to go through for that lesson, for those lessons to be learned, and for you to find your groove and find what is it that my audience is connecting with, and how am I connecting with this game, or how. So and it
is a very supportive space. It's a great community who are going to forgive maybe your audio is not quite right, or I can't launch a video this week, the one that I wanted to launch, it's going to happen next week instead. That's okay. It's all okay. Just make sure that you're checking in with yourself and you're being kind to yourself.
100%.
Thank you so much for having us as part of this video, and we will be watching the rest of your content. See you soon. Bye.
Hey everybody, it's Danny from Board Game Sanctuary. I'm an avid board gamer from Australia who loves sharing my passion for modern board games and Euro games with my friends, my family, and of course you. And today I'm going to be sharing my philosophy behind how I capture the essence of a board game and communicate it with people through video and through photos online. One of my approaches to creating content is trying to capture the feeling of a game. If you can kind of capture what makes that game feel tense, suspenseful, and exciting, and you can express that through the images and the editing, you can really convey how that game might feel to someone who's yet to play that game. The second thing that I would recommend is being your authentic self. Express who you are and be unapologetic about it. If you can convey your personality, your style of presentation without feeling like their strings are attached, and just be true to who you are, that's going to come off more authentically than trying to follow a script or reading an instruction book on how to play a game. And I'm constantly still discovering who I am and unpeeling the layers. I guess the choice of board games that you present is a reflection of the games that you like to play. It's almost like sharing like a private collection of games with a wider audience. And as people discover what your tastes are, they tend to kind of connect with you on different levels. I like trying to find a niche. So if you're creating content for beginners, try and focus a lot of your content that's targeted towards people who are entering board gaming for the first time. Maybe you really like, dungeon crawling games. Your channel or your content could be centered around that alone. When you find your niche, you'll often then discover your audience and the people that really like that part of board gaming. So if you've got that passion to want to share your love for this hobby online, I say do it. Don't wait a minute longer and get out there and connect with everybody.
Friends, my name is Jenna and I am the face behind the Board Game Garden. And I just want to say a huge thank you, Lola and Sean, for inviting me on here. I love this idea for a video and I'm excited to be part of it and offer a little bit of my insight and advice on this topic. So I would say that my number one tip or number one advice would be to find something that makes you unique from other board game content creators. There are a ton of board game content creators, and it's really important to find something that makes you stand out between all of those creators. And it's amazing how many creators we have here in the space, but it would be so nice to have, some difference, some individuality between all of the creators and finding something that makes you individual and something that you can offer to the board game space that has never been done before is really important. So for me, I have been like a lifestyle content creator for almost 9 years now. So I decided when getting into the board game content creation space to kind of put those things together, have the board games, but also keep that lifestyle, just like chill vibe to my videos. And I feel like that's been really, really good for the Board Game Garden. A lot of people say that it's very welcoming and chill and relaxing, and that is exactly what I want, and that's what I have found to be my individual thing. And whoever's watching this right now, just find that one unique thing that makes you you, and something that you can offer to the board game space that is unlike any other content creators. So yeah, again, thank you so much, Lola and Sean, for inviting me, and hopefully you guys all have a good rest of your day. Bye, friends.
Hey, this is Jamie from Stonemeyer Games, and I have a YouTube channel where I talk about my favorite game mechanisms. And I thought I'd share a few words of encouragement and maybe some insights about how to start and grow a channel or content, a blog, a podcast, whatever you want to create, whatever medium feels right to you. Lola asked me this in the context of content creators who have already started creating something. And I wanted to congratulate you if that's the case for you, because I think the biggest barrier to starting is actually posting that first video or writing that first blog post or recording and posting that first podcast. If you have already started, that is a huge accomplishment. That is leaps and bounds ahead of most people, because that is the biggest barrier, actually just starting something. So congratulations if you've done that. Everyone starts from zero. I started with 0 followers, 0 subscribers. So everyone starts there. That is completely normal. That is what everyone starts with. So that is the default starting point. I had a few quick insights that I thought I'd offer you, things that I've learned along the way. One is to have fun. And I know that's a generic advice, have fun with what you're creating. But I found this to be super helpful for me to create content that is fun for me to create and focus on that. And if I'm not having fun with the type of content I'm creating, to find something else that is fun. Just because you set out to create a blog, podcast, or YouTube channel, whatever you're creating, with a certain idea in mind, if that idea doesn't actually turn out to be fun, if you are dreading making that content instead of getting excited about it, it might be time to try something slightly different. Try a different medium, try a different format, shorter, longer, fewer edits, more edits, whatever gets you excited, whatever you are really enjoying, try that instead. I also wanted to highly recommend that a good focus on audio and visuals. It doesn't have to be amazing editing, but people need to be able to hear you talk and watch you talk if you're recording on a YouTube channel. This is something that I struggle with a little bit. You'll see my camera probably even go in and out of focus as I'm recording this, but the audio is typically pretty good thanks to a pretty good mic. So I think that can be a huge element to help people stick with your channel, stick with your content if they give you a chance. And last, if you are in the game industry, and I'm guessing if you are, you're watching this, then you probably are, that you start out with talking about games that you already own. Start out there. You have a whole collection probably of games that you already own that you could talk about on your channel. You could create top 10 lists, top 5 lists, top 3 lists, or just talk about each game, your favorite thing in that for each game that you already own. Start there. I think that you have a great wealth of things to talk about that you already have access to. And I think that's a great starting point to build whatever your content is that you're trying to build. Those are a few insights. Those are the things that I try to keep in mind and things that I've learned along the way. And I look forward to hearing about your channel, your content, your blog, your podcast, your content in the comments below. I hope you post it in this video. Share what you are working on, what you're creating, what you're struggling with, and the moments of fun that you've had, the moments of true excitement and joy that you've had from creating your content. And I hope you continue to capture that joy in whatever you're creating. Thanks and good luck.
I worked to put this video together to help other creators, but as the videos were coming in, they were helping me tremendously. Each and every single one of the videos had something that I needed to hear. So I want to thank them all for contributing to this venture. I really appreciate it. It has meant a lot to me, and I hope it's meant something for you as well. If there happens to be anybody here that you haven't heard of before, I urge you to check them out. I have the links to everyone down in the description down below. These are all channels that, among others, inspire me as a content creator, and to everyone who has watched my channel, who has given us a like, sent us a sub, or given us a comment with some kind words. I gotta tell you how much that means to me, especially the comments. A nice word, it's amazing how much that can make your day and make everything all worthwhile. It takes a tremendous amount of courage and energy to start a YouTube channel, as well as to sustain one. If you have done so, you deserve to be celebrated. Share your channel down below with us. Let us know, and everyone, check them out and share the love. If you're thinking of starting a YouTube channel, share your ideas with us below, because we'd love to support you. A variety of voices is what makes our community vibrant and healthy. Everyone deserves to be heard. Everyone deserves to be seen.